My name's Daniel. I'm 44 years old. Been sleeping on these streets a while now. A lot of nights I didn't think I'd see the morning, but God, He found me out here. He sobered me up, gave me a new heart. I got peace today I never had when I was using. Never had when I was running. Never had even when I thought I had it all together. I grew up in a small town, one of those places where everybody knows your business. You know, where your mama can't go to the grocery store without somebody asking how her kids are doing. My mom raised me and my sister on her own. Dad left when I was 6. Don't remember much about him except the sound of the door closing. That hollow sound, I can still hear it sometimes. Mom, she tried. She really did. Worked 2 jobs, waiter, sing during the day, cleaning offices at night. She was always tired, but she never missed taking us to church. Every Sunday, I remember sitting in those wooden pews, swinging my legs because my feet couldn't touch the floor yet, singing songs about Jesus loving me. Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. I believed it then, you know. When you're a kid, it's easy to believe. The roast still makes sense. God's still good. Everything's gonna be okay. I had that for a while. That innocence, that faith, that didn't need proof, but somewhere around 15, 16 I started drifting. Started hanging with guys who didn't go to church, who had beer in their trucks and pills in their pockets. At first, it was just weekends, Friday night, Saturday night. Then I'd show up to church Sunday morning with my mom trying to act normal. But pretty soon it was every day. Every night Mom would wait up for me. I'd see her shadow in the kitchen window when I'd stumble in at 2, 3 in the morning. She'd be sitting at that old table, hands folded, praying. I could hear her sometimes through my bedroom wall praying for me. Lord, protect my boy, bring him back to you, don't let him go too far. And I'd lay there in bed, half drunk, half high, feeling guilty, but not guilty enough to stop. That's the thing about. The guilt becomes part of the routine. You feel guilty. You used to stop feeling guilty. It's a cycle, and once you're in it, it's hard to get out. The alcohol came first. To loosen up at parties, to feel a little more confident. Then it's a drink to wake up. Then it's a drink to stop the shaking. Then it's not about feeling good anymore. It's about feeling normal. Pills came next. Painkillers after I hurt my back at a construction job. Doctor gave me 30 days worth. 30 pills, I made them last 6. With some help from guys who knew guys. Then harder stuff. Cocaine. Then meth. Then things I don't even want to name. I'm not proud of it, but that's where it went. People tried to help my mom. She never gave up. She'd call me even when I wouldn't answer. Even when I blocked her number, she'd call from her friend's phone. She'd leave messages, long messages. Daniel, baby, please come home. Please let me help you. I love you. Jesus loves you. It's not too late. I'd listen to them sometimes when I was high. And I'd cry. But I never called back. Pride, you know. My sister too. Jennifer. She had her own family by then. Husband, 2 kids, nice house in the suburbs. She'd drive around looking for me. Found me once behind a gas station so high I didn't recognize her at first. When I finally did, she was crying. Just standing there crying. Glad, she said, Danny, what happened to you? What happened to my big brother? And I didn't have an answer. I just walked away, left her standing there. I think about that a lot now. How she drove all the way across town to find me, and I walked away. Well, there was a pastor at Mom's church. Pastor, Mike, good man, real gentle spirit, but tough when he needed to be. He'd come find me sometimes, bring me food, offer me a place to stay. I'd take the food. I wasn't proud enough to turn down a hot meal, but I'd refuse everything else. Told him I didn't need saving, told him I was fine, told him to go help somebody who wanted it. We both knew I was lying, but pride will kill you slower than any drug. It'll kill you from the inside out. It'll make you push away the very people who could save you. The streets became my home, not by choice at first. I got evicted from my apartment, then my buddy's couch, then nowhere else to go. But after a while, it became normal. I knew every bridge, every underpass. I knew Warm Great and the city. I had my spots. Places where the police wouldn't bother you if you kept quiet and didn't cause trouble. There was this one spot under the railroad bridge that was mine for a while until some younger guys ran me off. That's how it works out there. Survival of the fittest or the meanest. Cardboard was my bed. Newspaper was my blanket. Plastic bags became my pillow. Some nights it was so cold I couldn't feel my fingers, couldn't feel my toes. You learn to sleep. Light out there, one eye open. You never know who's coming, who's gonna try to take what little you have, who's drunk or high and looking for a fight, who's just lost like you are. Sleep becomes this shallow thing. You're never really resting. Just existing in this half-awake state, waiting for morning, the hunger. That's something you don't forget. Not the kind where you skip breakfast and your stomach growls at lunch. The kind where you haven't eaten in 3 days and your stomach stops growling because it's given up asking. You get weak, dizzy, everything starts to hurt. Dumpster diving becomes normal. You wait until the restaurants close, then you check their trash. You stop caring about dignity. You stop caring about what you look like, what you smell like, what people think. You stop caring about much of anything except the next high. The next moment, where you don't have to feel how far you've fallen. Stop praying somewhere along the way. Maybe a year or two on the streets, maybe year three. Time blurs out there, days blend together. You lose track, months disappear. But I remember the moment I stopped, I was under the Fifth Street Bridge. My whole body was convulsing, stomach cramping, head pounding. I looked up at the concrete above me. All that graffiti, all those stains that I said out loud, "You're not there," or "If you are, you're done with me. So I'm done with you," and I meant it. I figured God was for people like my mom, good people, clean people, people who had their act together, not people like me, not people sleeping in their own filth under a bridge, not people who'd pawn their mother's jewelry for drug money, not people who'd stolen from friends and pay, lied to everyone, hurt everyone, whoever loved them. I figured if God was real, he'd given up on me a long time ago. So I keep trying. Why keep talking to the ceiling? It felt like screaming into the void anyway. The lowest years, I don't like thinking about them much, but they're part of the story. Can't tell you where I'm at now without telling you where I was. There was this guy, Tommy. We camp together sometimes. Watch each other's backs, that's what you do out there, find somebody. Pair up, try to survive together. He was younger than me, maybe 30. Good kid, just made some bad choices. Started using after his wife left, took his daughter with her. Or, this little girl with pigtails, he'd cry sometimes looking at that picture. We'd share whatever we found food. Smoke sometimes, a bottle if we got lucky enough to panhandle the money. One morning I woke up, sun just starting to come up. That gray light before dawn, and he was right there beside me. Same as always. Sleeping bag half off him, his hand stretched out like he'd been reaching for something, but he wasn't moving. I said his name, Tommy. Nothing, I said it louder. Tommy, wake up. Man, but he was cold. Already gone. Skin had that waxy look, half open but empty. Nobody home. Overdose, I think, or maybe just the cold, I don't know. I never found out. The paramedics came. Eventually somebody must have called, but by then I'd already left. I couldn't stay there. Couldn't look at him. Walked. Walked for hours that day. Just walked. Didn't know where I was going. Didn't care. And I remember thinking that's gonna be me. That's how my story ends. Alone on the street. Body found by a stranger who doesn't even know my name. There were other close calls. Got jumped once by 3 guys with the $14 in my pocket. $14. It beat me so bad I couldn't see out of my left eye for a week. Woke up in the ER with a concussion, 3 broken ribs and a fractured jaw. The doctors kept asking me who did it. I wouldn't tell them what's the point. As soon as they let me go, I went right back out. Right back to the same corner, same routine. Got pneumonia. Same routine. Got pneumonia one winter. Fever so hard it was. My mom standing over me, telling me to come home. Tommy sitting beside me saying he was okay now, colors that didn't exist, sounds that made no sense. I was lying in an alley, behind a Chinese restaurant, coughing up blood, burning up and freezing at the same time. Should have died, probably would have if some shelter volunteer hadn't found me on her route. She dragged me inside, literally dragged me. I couldn't walk and got me help. I don't even remember her name, but she saved my life that night. And the overdoses. I lost count. 3 times I woke up with them standing over me. Narcan bringing me back. Each time they'd say, "You're lucky to be alive." Lucky, that's what they called it. Didn't feel lucky. Felt like maybe I should have stayed gone. What was I living for anyway? More of this. More nights shaken. More days hungry. More years watching myself disappear. But every time I said, never again. Every time I swore I was done. Every time I threw away whatever I had left. I'd be high by sunset. That's addiction. It doesn't care about your promises. I'd hear preachers sometimes downtown, guys with megaphones and signs, standing on milk crates talking about Jesus, about salvation, about hope, about how God loves you. No matter what. I'd walk past and sometimes even yell at them to shut up and keep going. But sometimes late at night, when the city got quiet and it was just me in the dark, I'd remember things, hymns my mom used to sing while she cooked dinner. Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound, the way she'd tuck me in when I was little, and pray over me, her hand on my forehead warm and soft, whispering words I didn't understand, but that made me feel safe. That feeling of being loved, of being known, of being protected, it felt like another lifetime, like it happened to someone else, like it happened to someone else, like that little boy with the swinging legs wasn't me anymore. He was dead, and this shell on the street, this was what was left. By the time I hit rock bottom, real rock bottom, not just the kind where you think things can't get worse and then they do, I didn't want to live anymore, but I didn't know how to die either. but I didn't know how to die either. I was too much of a coward to do it myself, so I was just existing, breathing without living, heart beating, but no reason for it, going through the motions. Wake up, find something to eat, find something to get high on, pass out, wake up, do it again. It's not life, that's just waiting to stop, waiting for it to finally be over. Then came that night, the night everything changed. I've been up for, I don't know, 3, 4 days, maybe more. Couldn't sleep, my mind was racing, thoughts spinning like a tornado. My body was failing, shaking, sweating, hurting. Everything hurt, my bones hurt, my teeth hurt, my skin hurt. I found this alley off 7th Street, narrow, dark, quiet. There was a dumpster on one side, a brick wall on the other. I sat down against the wall, my whole body shaking uncontrollably. I know how it sounds, but something shifted, not outside, inside, deep inside, where I thought everything was dead. It was like this warmth spread through my chest. It started small, like a spark, and then spread out through my ribs, down my arms, up my neck, warm, real. And I started crying, not the angry crying I'd done before, not the frustrated crying or the scared crying. This was different. It came from somewhere deeper, this deep, gut-wrenching sobbing that came from a place I didn't know was still there. My shoulders shook, my whole body convulsed, tears and snot running down my face, and I didn't care. I couldn't stop. It was like something broke open inside me, and everything I'd been holding in for years just poured out. All the shame, all the fear, all the regret, all the pain just pouring out. And with it came this peace, this quiet, like someone turned down the volume on all the noise in my head. All the voices telling me I was worthless, that I'd never change, that I should just give up. They went quiet. The shame that usually screamed at me 24/7. It got quiet. The fear that gripped my chest every morning when I woke up. It loosened the want, the desperate, clawing, never satisfied want for the next high. It settled, just settled, like something put its hand on it and said, "Be still." Then I heard something. Not with my ears, I know the difference. It was deeper than that, more real than sound, like a whisper in my spirit, in my soul, in whatever part of me was still alive under all the death, and it said, "You're still mine," just that. But they wrecked me, absolutely wrecked me, because that meant I'd never stop being his. Even when I was using, even when I was hating myself, even when I was cursing him. When I was convinced he was done with me, I was still his. I fell asleep right there in that alley, sitting against that brick wall, rain dripping somewhere above me. First real sleep I'd had in days. No nightmares, no waking up every hour, no fear, just sleep. Deep, heavy sleep, and when I woke up, sun was starting to come up at early morning light. The first thing I noticed was the craving was gone. Not weakened, not manageable, gone. I can't explain that. I've tried to explain it to people, and I can't find the words. I tried to quit 100 times, more than 100. I'd white-knuckled it, gone through withdrawal, sweated through sheets, shook for days, swore I'd never touch it again, but the craving always came back, always within hours, within days, that voice saying, just one more time, just to take the edge off, just to feel normal. It always came back. But that morning, when I opened my eyes and the sun was just starting to come up, it was gone. I felt clear. For the first time in years, maybe decades, I felt clear, like someone had wiped a dirty window and I could finally see through it. My thoughts weren't foggy, my body wasn't screaming, my mind wasn't racing. I was just present, right there in that moment, awake, alert, clear. I sat there for I don't know how long, just breathing, just being. Someone walking into the alley, I tensed up, old instinct, you never know who's coming. But when I looked up, it was this older man, maybe 60, gray hair, kind face. He was carrying a thermos and 2 paper cups. He walked over. Didn't say anything at first. I got peace today. I never had. Just sat down next to me on the ground. I had sat right there in the dirt and the puddles, like it was the most natural thing in the world. He opened the thermos. I could smell it. Coffee, real coffee, and poured some into both cups. Handed me one. It was hot. I burned my tongue on it, but I didn't care. It was the best thing I'd tasted in. I don't know how long we sat there in silence for a while. Just 2 guys sitting in an alley drinking coffee while the city woke up around us. Finally he said, "God told me to come here tonight." Just like that. Matter of fact, like God talks to him every day. I looked at him, really looked at him. He was smiling, gentle, knowing smile. Said there was someone here who needed to know. Said there was someone here who needed to know. He's not alone. He took a sip of his coffee. "That you?" I couldn't speak, just nodded. He nodded back, thought so. We finished our coffee, then he said, "You ready to go somewhere warm?" And I said, "You ready to go somewhere warm?" And I said, "Yes." That was my turning point. That stranger with a thermos. That man who listened when God told him to walk into an alley at sunrise. I never even got his name. He took me to a mission, a recovery shelter run by some church on the east side. Clean beds, hot meals, counseling meetings, real help. I've been to places like that before, gotten kicked out of a few, but this time was different. This time I wanted to be there. This time I wanted to be there. This time I wasn't running. I went through detox there, and I'm not gonna lie to you, it was hell. Actual hell. Painful nights, trembling hands, sweats that soaked through everything, chills that made my teeth shatter. My body was screaming for what I'd put in it all those years. Every cell was revolting. I couldn't eat, couldn't keep water down, couldn't think straight. Nightmares when I managed to sleep, terrible vivid nightmares. I'd wake up screaming sometimes, but through all of it, I kept hearing that whisper. You're still mine. It got me through. When I wanted to run, and I wanted to run, and I wanted to run, I'd hear it again. When I wanted to give up, and I wanted to give up, it was there. Like an anchor, like a lifeline. Like someone holding on to me when I couldn't hold on myself. Someone left the Bible on my cot. I don't know who. Nobody claimed it, but one night, maybe 2 weeks and still shaking, but starting to stabilize. I couldn't sleep. Body was exhausted, but my mind was racing. I picked up that Bible. I hadn't touched one in years. I hadn't wanted to. But that night I picked it up. And I just opened it. Didn't look for anything specific. Just opened it randomly. It fell open to Luke chapter 15. I started reading the story of the prodigal son. The kid who asks his dad for his inheritance early, basically telling his father, I wish you were dead, takes all the money, goes to a far country, wastes it all on parties and women and reckless living. Then a famine hits, he's broke, he's starving. He ends up eating pigs, which for a Jewish kid is about as low as you can go. And he's so hungry he wants to eat the pig food. That's where he hits bottom in a pig pen, wishing he could eat what the pigs are eating, and the story says he came to himself. He woke up, realized where he was, and he says, my father's servants have it better than this. I'll go home. I'll tell him I'm not worthy to be his son anymore. Maybe he'll let me be a servant. So he gets up and heads home. But here's the part that got me. The part that made me sob in that dark room, holding that Bible. It says, while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and felt compassion and ran to him and embraced him and kissed him. Ran to him. The father didn't wait for an apology. Didn't wait for the son to grovel. Didn't wait for the son to grovel. Didn't wait for him to prove he'd changed. He saw him coming, probably smelled like pig, probably looked like death, and he ran. A grown man, a dignified father, lifted up his robes and ran down that road. And when he got to his son, he embraced him, held him, kissed him. The son tried to give his speech. Father, I've sinned, I'm not worthy. But the father cut him off, called for a robe, a ring, shoes, threw a party. My son was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. I realized sitting there in that dark room that was me. I was that son, I'd taken everything. Good God gave me life, family, opportunities. Squandered it and ended up in my own pig pen. A literal pig pen made of alleys and bridges and needles, but God, he'd been watching for me, waiting for me. When I finally turned around, when I finally whispered that prayer, he ran to me, he didn't wait for me to clean up. He met me in the alley. He never had. He met me in the alley. He met me dirty. I found another passage later that week, Psalm 34 verse 18, the Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit. I read that over and over, wrote it down on a piece of paper and kept it in my pocket because that was me brokenhearted. Crushed in spirit, completely destroyed, but near to the Lord. How is that possible? How can you be crushed and near to God at the same time? But it's true. It's real. I was my most broken when he was his most close, when I had nothing left to offer. That's when he was closest. There was a counselor at the mission, man named James. Ex-addict himself, been clean 15 years, tattoos up both arms, rough voice, with the gentlest man I ever met. He'd seen it all, done it all. Nothing shocked him. One told him my story one night, told him everything. Things I never said out loud, things I'm not proud of, things that still make me sick to think about. The people I hurt, the things I stole, the lies I told, the bridges I burned, everything, and I broke down completely. Just sobbed. Couldn't hold it in anymore. All that guilt, all that shame, all that regret, it came pouring out. I was hunched over in my chair, crying so hard I couldn't breathe. And James, he just let me, didn't try to fix it. Didn't try to make it better, didn't tell me it was okay. Didn't tell me it was okay, because it wasn't okay. He just let me cry it out, let me feel it. When I finally stopped, when I cried everything out, and was just sitting there empty, he said something I'll never forget. He leaned forward, looked me right in the eyes and said, you just met Jesus, Daniel. Really met him. He's been waiting for you to stop running. And I said, James, you don't understand the things I did, the person I was. He held up his hand. I never had. I know what you did. And I'm telling you, Jesus met you in that alley. He didn't show up after you cleaned up. Worst, he showed up when you were at your worst. That's who he is. That's what he does. That peace I felt that night in the alley, it stayed. That's the difference between God and drugs. Drugs give you a high and then they take it away and leave you worse than before. Well, they promise peace and deliver chaos. They promise life and deliver death. But this peace, it didn't leave. Even on hard days, and there were hard days, it was there. Even when I struggled, it was there. Like a foundation I could stand on. Like solid ground in the middle of a flood. I used to think faith was for clean people. For people who had it together, for people who went to church. For people who went to church and followed the rules and never messed up. But I met Jesus dirty. I met him at my worst. And he didn't ask me to clean up first. He just said, "You're still mine." Recovery took months. Still taking it honestly. It's not an overnight thing. You don't just pray a prayer. You don't just pray a prayer and everything's fixed. You don't just get saved and suddenly you're perfect. I had to do the work. Communication sessions where I dealt with trauma. I'd been running from for decades. Meetings where I heard other people's stories and realized I wasn't alone. Learning to live sober, actually live, not just exist. Learning to handle emotions without numbing them. Learning to face problems instead of running. Learning to be honest with myself, with others, with God. But the difference was, I wasn't doing it alone. I wasn't relying on my own strength anymore because my own strength had failed me 1,000 times. I was relying on his, and when my strength ran out, which it did regularly, his didn't. When I woke up and didn't think I could make it another day, what? He carried me through that day when I walked past a corner. Where I used to buy, he walked with me past it. When the cravings hit because they still hit, sometimes he reminded me who I was now. Not who I was, who I am, is after a few months, I started going back to the streets, but different this time, not to use to help. I'd go with groups from the mission, pass out sandwiches, socks, blankets, toiletries, clean needles for harm reduction, whatever people needed, and I'd sit with guys. I used to camp with guys who knew me when, and they'd look at me different. "Danny, that you look different," and I'd tell them what happened, tell them about the alley, about the whisper, about the peace that stayed. Some listened, really listened, some didn't, some laughed, some told me I'd fallen for a scam. Some thought I'd lost my mind, traded one addiction for another. But a few asked me to pray with them. And we'd sit there, under a bridge, in an alley, on a sidewalk. And I'd pray the same prayer I prayed. God, if you're real, they got nothing left. Find them like you found me. Meet them where they are. Do for them what you did. For me, and I believed he would. I believed he was already there. Already waiting. Already running toward them. I got in touch with my mom. Hardest phone call I ever made. I got in the phone through the program, one of those cheap pay-as-you-go things, and I'd had her number programmed in for 2 weeks before I had the courage to call. I didn't know what to say. Didn't know if she'd even answer. What if she'd finally given up? What if she changed her number? What if she changed her number? What if she was gone? I didn't even know if she was still alive. That's how long it had been, but I called. My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped the phone. I'd rang once, twice, 3 times. I almost hung up. Then she answered. "Hello?" Just that one word, but I knew her voice. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. "Hello," she said again. I forced the words out. "Mom, it's Daniel." Silence, long silence. I thought she'd hung up. Then I heard her breathe, sharp intake, like she'd been punched. "Danny," her voice broke. "Mom, I'm sober." More silence, then, "How long?" We talked for 2 hours. I told her everything. She told me she'd never stop praying, not one day, for over 15 years. She'd pray for me every single morning and every single night. "I knew God would bring you home," she said. I knew it. I never doubted. We made plans to meet at Quad. The following week, a coffee shop near her house, neutral ground. I was terrified. What would she think when she saw me? I gained a little weight in recovery, but I still looked rough. Years on the street. It marks you. But I went. I got there early. Sat in the corner booth where I can see the door. Every time it opened, my heart jumped. Then she walked in. She looked older, grayer, more wrinkles. But still, Mom. Still that same face that used to tuck me in. She saw me and stopped. Hand to her mouth, then she walked over, not fast, not slow, just steady. And when she got to the table, she just held me, wrapped her arms around me and held me. Didn't say anything. Just held me, and I held her back. Held on like I was drowning, and she was solid ground. We stood there in that coffee shop holding each other, crying. People were staring. I didn't care. My mom was holding me. When we finally sat down, she reached across the table and took my hands, looked at me, really looked at me, and she said, "You're different. Your eyes are different." I said, "I am different, Mom. I'm not who I was. She smiled. I know I can see it. I can see. I can see Jesus in you. We talked for hours about everything, about the lost years, about the pain, about the guilt, about the hope. She told me about the prayer group at church that had been praying for me every Wednesday night for 10 years. 10 years. People I didn't even know, praying for me, fighting for me in the spiritual realm when I'd given up on myself. My sister came too. To a later meeting, Jennifer, she brought her kids, my niece and nephew. I never really met. They're older now. Emma's 12, Joshua's 10. They were shy at first, kept hiding behind their mom, peeking around her legs at the stranger who was supposed to be their uncle. But kids, they sense things they can tell. When something's real, after a while, after Jennifer and I had talked, after I'd apologized for missing their whole lives, Joffrey palmed up on the bench next to me. He looked at me with these big brown eyes and said, Mama said you were lost, but now you're found. Out of the mouths of babes, you know. Yeah, buddy, I said. That's exactly right. I was lost. But Jesus found me. He thought about that. Then he said, like hide and seek. I smiled. Yeah, like hide and seek I was hiding. But he found me. He nodded like that made perfect sense. Then he hugged me, just threw his little arms around my neck and hugged me, and I cried. Emma joined in, then Jennifer. We all just sat there in this group, hugged, crying and laughing at the same time. That moment, that was grace. That was family. That was everything I'd thrown away being given back. Not because I deserved it, just because God's merciful. But I don't want to paint some fairy tale. I don't want to paint some fairy tale picture where everything's easy now. Recovery isn't a straight line. It's messy. There are good days and bad days. Days where I wake up and feel strong, feel grateful, feel like I can conquer anything, and days where I wake up and the weight of everything I've done crashes down on me and I can barely get out of bed. Some nights I still hear the city calling me back. I'll walk past an alley I used to sleep in, or I'll see someone use in, and something in me remembers. The body remembers the mind. Remembers the body, remembers the mind, remembers that voice that says, just once, just to take the edge off, nobody would know. I remember that whisper, you're still mine. I remember the peace that replaced the chaos. I remember my mom's face when she saw me sober. I remember my nephew hugging me. I remember that I'm not alone anymore. I'm not fighting this in my own strength, and I keep walking. One foot in front of the other, one moment at a time, one day at a time, sometime 1 hour at a time, but I keep walking. I got a room now. It's small, real small. Studio apartment in a not great part of town, but it's mine. I pay rent working part-time at a warehouse, loading trucks, manual labor but honest work. One window that looks out at a brick wall, but it's mine. It's warm, it's dry, it's safe. And every night before I sleep I pray me, the guy who cursed God for years, the guy who told God to leave him alone. I pray, I thank him for the bed hair, for the blanket, for the roof over my head, for the breath in my lungs, for another day, sober for the chance to wake up tomorrow and try again. That's all. Any of us can do, you know, try again. We're gonna mess up. We're gonna have bad days. We're gonna struggle, but we get up and try again. That's what grace is for. Not for perfect people, there's no such thing. Grace is for people who keep falling down and getting back up. People who mess up and say, I'm sorry, help me do better. People who are broken but still trying. I watched the sunrise the other morning from my window. The city was just waking up. That quiet hour before rush hour starts. Steam was rising from the streets. I had a cup of coffee in my hands, real coffee that I made in my own kitchen, and I just stood there watching the light change, watching the darkness fade, watching the city come alive. And I smiled. Not a big smile, just a small one. The kind that comes from deep inside, because I was alive, because I was sober, because I was free, and I remembered when I thought none of that was possible, when I thought my story was over, when I was convinced that Allie would be my grave. But God, those two words, but God, changes everything, doesn't it? I was lost, but God found me. I was dying, but God gave me life. I was hopeless, but God gave me hope. I was chained, but God set me free. I was dead, but God set me free. I was dead. Everything after, but God is resurrection. Everything after, but God is miracle. Everything after, but God is grace upon grace, upon grace. I want to tell you something. If you're watching this, if you're listening to this, and you feel like you're too far gone, you're not. I promise you, you're not. I thought I was absolutely convinced of it. I thought I'd burned every bridge, wasted every chance, exhausted every ounce of grace. I thought I'd made myself unreachable, that I'd gone so far into the darkness that light couldn't find me anymore. But God, He reached me in an alley at my lowest when I had nothing left to offer Him. He reached me, and He'll reach you too. I don't care where you are. I don't care what you've done. I don't care how long you've been running. He'll reach you. This isn't about religion. I need you to hear. This isn't about religion. I need you to hear that. And it helps. This isn't about following rules or being good enough or earning your way. This isn't about following rules or being good enough or earning your way back. It's not about that. It's about mercy, pure, undeserved, unearned mercy. Mercy that walked into an alley on a rainy night and whispered to a broken man, "You're still mine." Mercy that didn't ask for credentials or qualifications. Mercy that didn't demand I get clean first. Mercy that met me right where I was. Dirty, broken, hopeless, and loved me anyway. That same mercy is available to you right now, right where you are. You don't have to clean up first. You don't have to have it figured out. You don't have to be worthy. News flash. None of us are we worthy. News flash. None of us are worthy. You just have to cry out. Just have to whisper, "God, if you're real. I got if you're real. I got nothing left." That's all it takes. That's the prayer that changes everything. Not because it's magic words, but because God's been waiting for you to stop running. He's been standing there watching the horizon, waiting for you to turn around, and when you do, he runs to meet you. I think about the people who looked past me on the streets, the ones who crossed to the other side, the ones who acted like I was invisible, and I don't blame them. I really don't. I probably lived scary, probably smelled bad, probably seemed dangerous or crazy or too far gone. I get it, bro. We live in a world where we're taught to protect ourselves, to avoid trouble, to keep our distance from people people like I was. But then I think about the ones who stopped. A stranger with a coffee in the thermos who listened when God told him to walk into an alley. At sunrise, Pastor Mike, who kept showing up even when I cursed him out and told him to leave me alone. My mom would never stop praying. My mom would never stop praying, never stop believing. Never gave up hope even when I gave up on myself. The counselor James, who let me break in his office and didn't try to fix me, just pointed me to the one who could. The volunteer who found me with pneumonia and saved my life. Those people, they were Jesus to me. They showed me what love looks like when it gets its hands dirty, and now I try to be that for someone else. Try to be the one who stops, the one who sees, the one who sits down on the cold sidewalk and shares a sandwich and listens to someone's story. Try to be the hands and feet of Jesus to people who feel invisible, because I know what invisible feels like. I know what it's like when people look through you like you're not even there. And I know what it means when one person stops, when one person sees you, when one person treats you like you're human, like you're valuable, like you matter. It can change everything. A shepherd has 100 sheep and one goes missing. What does he do? Does he say, "Well, I've still got 99. That's pretty good"? No, he leaves the 99, leaves them safe in the fold, and goes searching for the one that's lost, the one that's probably stuck in a thorn bush somewhere, crying, scared, alone, and he searches until he finds it, and when he does, he doesn't beat it or scold it. He picks it up, puts it on his shoulders, and carries it home. That he leaves the 99 to find the one. I was that one, lost in the city, lost in addiction, lost in myself, stuck in my thorn bush of choices and consequences, and he came searching. He didn't wait for me to find my way back. I couldn't have. He came looking for me, and when he found me broken, dirty, ashamed, he picked me up and carried me home. I didn't have to walk. I couldn't have walked. He carried me. Another verse says, "If any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new." That's 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 17. And it's true, I'm living proof I'm not who I was. That man who slept under bridges, who stole to feed his addiction, who pushed away everyone who loved him, who cursed God and gave up on life, that man is dead. He died in that alley, and when I woke up, when I opened my eyes to that sunrise, I was new. I never had. I was new. Not perfect, but new. The things that control me, they don't anymore. The shame that crushed me every moment of every day, it's been lifted, not erased. I remember what I did. I carry those scars, but lifted. I don't have to carry it anymore. Jesus carried it to the cross. The hopelessness that defined me for so long, that voice that said, "This is all there is. This is all you'll ever be." It's been replaced with hope. Real hope. Not wishful thinking, but solid, grounded hope, based on the fact that God is faithful, that what he starts, he finishes. That he who began a good work in me will complete it. Sometimes people ask me, they say, "Daniel, what if I mess up again? What if I can't stay sober? What if I try and I fail?" And I tell them what James told me, what I've learned to be true. Then you get up and try again. Grace doesn't run out. It's new every morning. The Bible says that. His mercies are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. Every morning, not just one time. Not just at the moment of salvation. Every single morning there's fresh grace, fresh mercy, a fresh start. That's the beauty of it. It's not about being perfect. God doesn't expect perfection. If he did, we'd all be lost. It's about being willing. Willing to get up when you fall. Willing to try when you fail. Willing to reach out when you're drowning. Willing to let God meet you where you are. However many times it takes, because he doesn't give up on us. Even when we give up on ourselves, even when everyone else gives up on us. He doesn't. He's faithful when we're faithless. He's constant when we're chaotic. He's steady when we're shaking. That's who he is. I'm not special. I really need you to know that. The regular, flawed, messed up guy who was dying in an alley and cried out to God. That's it. That's my only qualification. I was desperate enough to ask for help, and he answered. If he answered me a homeless addict with nothing to offer, nothing to commend myself, nothing to bargain with, he'll answer you. I promise you that. On everything I have, I promise you that. He hears you. Even in the noise, even in the chaos, even in the silence when you think no one's listening. He hears you, even when you think you're talking to nothing. To empty air, to a God who's not there, doesn't care. He hears you, even when your prayer is just a whisper. Just a groan, just a desperate, wordless cry. He hears you, and he responds. Maybe not the way you expect. Maybe not in your timeline, but he responds because he's a father who runs toward his children, not away from them, toward them. I'm 44 years old. I'll be 45 next month. I lost almost 20 years to addiction. 20 years of my life, my 30s, most of my 20s just gone wasted, thrown away. I can't get those back. I can't undo the damage I did. I can't unbreak the hearts I broke. I can't unbreak the hearts I broke. I can't unhurt the people I hurt. Those years unhurt the people I hurt. Those years are gone, but I've got today. And if God gives it to me, I've got tomorrow. And I'm going to use whatever time I have left, whether it's 1 year or 40 years, to tell people what he did for me. Because if just one person hears this, if just one person watching this or listening to this, if just one person decides to cry out to God, if just one person realizes they're not too far gone, then it's worth it. Every hard night in recovery, every craving I fought through, every painful memory I had to face, every tear I cried in counseling, every moment of wanting to give up, it's worth it, all of it. If even one person finds hope, finds life, finds Jesus, it's worth it. And I believe there's more than one. I believe there's someone watching this right now. Someone who needs to hear this right now. Someone who needs to hear this. Someone who's sitting in their car, or lying in their bed, or hiding in their room, or wandering the streets, and they're at the end. They're done. They've got nothing left. And this message, this testimony, is for them. God arranged everything, my story, this recording, this moment. So they would know they're not alone. So they would know there's hope. So they would know there's hope. So they would know that it's not too late if that's you, if you're that person. Listen to me. It's not too late. I don't care what you've done. I don't care how long you've been running. I don't care how many times you've tried and failed. I don't care how dark it is where you are right now. It's not too late. It wasn't too late for me in that alley. It's not too late for you, wherever you are. God hasn't given up on you. But he's still there, still waiting, still ready to run towards you the moment you turn around. You just have to turn around. Maybe you're in your car right now, sitting in a parking lot, trying to work up the courage to go home. Maybe you're in your bedroom, door locked, feeling like the walls are closing in. Maybe you're on the streets like I was, cold and hungry and hopeless. Maybe you're in a nice house with a nice family and nobody knows you're dying inside. Wherever you are, whatever your story is, he's there too, right there where story is. He's there too, right there with you, and he's saying the same thing. He said to me, you're still mine. You were always his. You never stopped being his. Or you just forgot. But he didn't forget you. He knows your name. He knows your story. He knows every mistake, every regret, every moment you wish you could take back. And he loves you anyway. Not in spite of who you are, just loves you. Period. No conditions, no qualification. No fine print, just love. Crazy, relentless, pursuing love that won't let you go. That won't give up. The kind of love that walks into alleys and take pens and prisons and hospitals and says, you're still mine, come home. So come home. That's what I'm asking you to do. Come home. You don't have to clean up first. You don't have to figure everything out. You don't have to be strong or brave or worthy. You just have to come, just have to say, God, I need you. I can't do this anymore. I got nothing left. If you're real, if you're there, if you care, help me. That's the prayer. That's all it takes, and he will. He'll meet you right where you are. He'll pick you up. He'll carry you home. I'm going to pray now. Just a simple prayer. If you want to, you can pray it with me. Out loud or in your head, doesn't matter. God hears either way. If you don't want to pray, that's okay too. But I'm going to pray. For you, for whoever needs this, for whoever's at the end of their rope, for whoever's at the end of their rope, for whoever's ready to come home. God, I'm bringing you someone tonight. Someone who's watching this. Someone who's listening. Someone who feels lost. Someone who thinks they're too far gone. Someone who's tried everything and nothing's worked. Someone who's tired of running, tired of fighting. I'm part of pretending they're okay when they're not. I'm asking you to do for them what you did for me. Meet them where they are. Don't wait for them to come to you. Go to them. Walk into their alley. Sit with them. Walk into their alley. Sit with them in their darkness. Whisper to their heart. Remind them they're yours. Give them the courage to cry out. Give them the strength to take the first step. Then, when they fall, because they will, we all do catch them, the way you caught me. Over and over again, every time I stumbled, every time I wanted to quit, every time I thought I couldn't make it another day, you were there. Be there for them. Show them what grace looks like. Show them what love looks like. Show them that it's not about being perfect. It's about being yours. For those who are already walking this road, who are in recovery, who are fighting the good fight, who are trying every day to stay sober and stay faithful and stay strong. Give them endurance. Give them hope. Remind them how far they've come. Remind them that every day sober is a miracle. Life. Every morning they wake up and choose life. That's victory. Don't let them forget that. Don't let them get discouraged. Keep them, hold them, carry them when they can't walk. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you for finding me. Thank you for not giving up on me. Thank you for that night in the alley. Thank you for the stranger with the coffee. Thank you for James or Pastor Mike. Thank you for James and Pastor Mike and my mom who never stopped praying. Thank you for grace. Thank you for mercy. Thank you for new life. Thank you for peace. Thank you for peace. Thank you for hope. Thank you for a day. Thank you for another day. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.